How's everyone doing today? SwasAye doing another Rocket Life advice. Today, I'm actually really excited to be talking to the Tank. On Xbox, it was the Tank 8925, 6925?
8925.
8925, I was right the first time. All we're going to do, we're just going to hop into casual and just talk about what you've been doing in life, because it's a really interesting thing to do. Okay, so about, I'm going to say a year and a half ago, you left the 9 to 5 grind to pursue a new career. What was that career?
That career was being a professional poker player.
So you now play poker a lot
Yes.
to just play poker.
And to make money. That's also a very important caveat.
Well, that's fair. So, I mean, let's talk about this. How long exactly have you been doing this professionally?
Professionally, it's been about it's more so a year, like just poker, like not because I would play while I was working, the 9 to 5 for, whether it's just one night or a couple nights a week.
Okay. All right, and then how long, like, altogether have you been playing poker? Because I've known you for a crazy long time. Big fakes. A shot. But, like, you've been playing, I want to say as long as I've known you, which is, we're coming up on, like, 20 years, dude.
Yeah. It was, can't remember if I was 14 or 15 years old, and it was my cousin, Pomps' his basement. It was me, him, and his two neighbors, and the four of us, we started just doing tournaments. And this is when the World Series of Poker was going on with Chris Moneymaker, and he won it, and he kind of showed the world that anyone can do this and be successful at it. So I think he is credited for the poker boom, and just from there I fell in love with the game and have been playing ever since.
Okay, so do you have a favorite player?
I've always thought it would have to be Phil Ivey.
Okay.
I know he doesn't really play anymore with all, like the different stuff that's gone on, and he doesn't really have to. Like, he cemented his legacy as one of the best. But it would be Phil Ivey.
Yeah, so him and Phil Hellmuth are the only two names that I can say that I remember, but Phil Ivey was my boy.
Yeah.
Like, just something about him just cutting up the competition. I use that reference because we're playing Rocket League. So, but like, okay, you were 14, like, when did it click in your mind that, like, hey, this might be something that I want to do for a long time? Like, when did it occur to you, like, hey, I might want to do this professionally?
I know you're coming up. Sorry. When I started playing online, when that was like popular in the heyday, my start wasn't that good, but as I played through and got better playing online, I kind of realized, like, okay, this is a lot of fun. Like, there's less strategy involved, there's a lot of math involved, and there's obviously a lot of risk involved with it too. And I started having success online after a while. I went through not a ton of money, but for a 21-year-old, a decent amount of money. And when I started making money from there, I'm like, okay, this can work. Like, I felt a lot more comfortable doing it and understanding the mathematical spots a lot better and everything else that you need to do for online poker. And the seed was planted there, and got to a point in my life where a year ago I'm just like, I'm taking a chance. So here we go.
Did it ever go, like, really right or really wrong?
For online, I didn't play like very high stakes. It was more just a learning experience. Like, I played 25 cent, 50 cent, which means that you'll sit down at the table normally between $50 to $100. But the stakes I play now are 2-5 no limit, which you normally sit down with about $1,000, and 1-2 PLO, which you'll sit down with like 300, 400. So when I started playing professionally, I was very, very fortunate that I didn't lose immediately, because one, that would be very demoralizing, and two, you know, like you don't want to like, I have the bankroll to be able to lose immediately, but it's still, you know, I don't want to lose 10 grand off the gate because you're not sure if you should be doing that. But
no, that's super fair and terrifying hearing you say that.
Yeah. I save. Yeah, you know, about a month in, I got second in a poker tournament for 11 grand. So that was helpful, and then I was successful in the cash games too, starting off too, so.
Okay. Now, doing this professionally, obviously I would assume, I think most people are going to assume, just with how you've been talking, you're in a casino doing this now?
Yes. I mainly play live. I haven't messed with online since what the poker players know as Black Friday, which is the government cracking down on the poker websites and essentially making them illegal. So okay. It's only live.
Okay. How many days or nights a week do you go? Is it more in the day? Is like poker like hotter at night?
Definitely. The Cleveland scene is interesting in the sense of there's not too many big games that go, but when they kick off, they go. So Friday night is the night. Friday night is the night to play. Wednesdays are good. Saturdays are good. I normally will stick around Friday, Wednesday, you know, Saturday morning, maybe like a Wednesday afternoon. I try to get around 30, 35 hours in a week. So essentially just the same hours I would be working a full-time job, but the flexibility is that, you know, it's I can essentially go whatever. Pot Limit Omaha gives you that flexibility, because those games will run pretty much 24/7, while the higher staked, which again, it's not even really a high stake for poker in general, but for Cleveland is like 2-5 or 5-10. Those will only run on certain nights.
Good chat. Now, okay. I mean, that's like my first question hearing you say that is, like, what time on Friday night, Saturday morning are you getting home? Like, are you playing until like 4 a.m.?
Yeah. The latest I've stayed is 5:30 in the morning. You know, it's not. I messed it up. It's not always that late of a night.
Oops, sorry.
You know, sometimes.
So like, what time do you go in?
For Friday nights, it's normally like 2, 3, 4 o'clock.
So on a typical Friday, you've got a 12-hour session.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I could push it to 13, 14. You know, maybe even the longest I've done, I think, is 14, maybe 15, but definitely, you know, past the 12-hour mark.
Dude, that's absolutely insane. Okay, good for you. Good for you. Now you talked about, you know, risk management, risk analysis a little bit. What, like, other than losing all of your money, which for me would definitely be a concern. I'm not great at poker. Like, what are some of the risks that you need to worry about?
First off, I mean, a lot of the a lot of the risks get midgetated.
No misks here, dude.
Yeah, no, you nailed that. A lot of the risks get midgetated if you do this intelligently. What I mean by intelligently is that you have the proper bankroll to be able to take if you have a bad session. Now, I've had lengths of time where I have lost 5 figures within like a month. But I've also had, you know, months where I've won 5 figures.
Okay.
So it's bankroll management. It's not being too... Wow, I whiffed on that. It's not being too... Like, I don't know. It's not... I'm trying to think the right way to say this. Like, some people think when they're a professional poker player, that means they get to live, you know, like a very lavish lifestyle. You know, they think that, you know, oh, it's I get to do this with my life, and spend a lot of money, and do all kinds of stuff. And for me, it actually taught me to be more frugal, to be more respectful of money, because every money or every dollar that you have is an opportunity for you to possibly win. It's sort of like an investing mentality.
Okay.
I'm trying. Other risks would be, I mean, you're still going downtown, on a Friday and Saturday night. It can get, if you're not careful, it can get, not that the casinos usually have too many issues, but just obviously be smart about it. Like, don't, like, I don't know. I missed on that. It's my fault. I say. I don't know. Like, don't like flash
Flaunt,
that you
yeah,
have like
don't
$100
flaunt
bills
everything.
on you.
So,
Because
okay. Now, you brought up the term risk management. Do you kind of want to explain what that is?
so risk management is, in the poker sense, I would say it's understanding the risk that is going on and your preference and ability to control it. What I mean by that is this. You could play poker a certain number of ways. Like, you do have to understand the math and psychology, but you could be a successful poker player playing a tight style. You could be a successful poker player playing an aggressive style. You could be successful playing a little more loose. You could be maybe not as successful playing passive, but the case in point is there's different ways that you could play and still make a living.
Okay.
So from the risk management, it's more so understanding yourself. Understanding not just like, what you should do in certain spots for what the math is telling you to do, but understand your threshold of risk and then play accordingly. Because if you're not a high variance person, so to speak, you could just play safer and tighter and, like I said, still be successful, but just to not get out of your element.
Okay. So already you're like, just you talking about all of this right now, my initial thought, and I am going to relate this back to Rocket League here in a moment, because we are playing Rocket League a little bit. But you're obviously well versed within poker in general, and just like hearing you speak, like, you're just so smart. So do you, like, how often do you read about poker? Like, how much extra research is it, or are you just going to play?
Oh, I'm constantly thinking about poker. Like, I'll be hanging with my girlfriend and we'll literally go off into a blank stare just thinking about a certain hand or a certain spot or situation. And it's very reading and studying kind of go hand in hand. But I'm constantly thinking about just like the game in general.
Okay.
So
How many?
it is definitely, like, I play for 30 to 35 hours because I feel like that's a good balance in general. I feel the longer you sort of play past the 40-hour work week, the more it becomes sort of a grind, and you may not allow yourself the creativity or flexibility to not only advance your game, but to pick up on things at the poker table that that some other players might not be able to.
Okay. All right. It's so interesting. Now I'm going to ask this because I know that you're a reader as well. We're going to back out. We're going to see if we can do one more match. We'll see if we can find some people. How many poker books do you own?
Probably like 30. 25 or 30.
Have you read all of them?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Have you read them multiple times?
Yeah, it's not for full rereads, but I remember that I read something in for instance, one of the books I enjoy, it's called Easy Game, which sort of is the introduction to the book that sort of helped advance my career as much as it did. It came out in like 2012, so it's nothing new or like super groundbreaking or anything, but it's a nice sort of just, like the idea is that poker books are great when they present a lot of good ideas. nothing in poker, nothing in poker is very concrete. So bringing additional ways that you could think about the game or options to think about in certain spots, that's what makes a book good. You know, that's why Doyle's Super System was good for its time. Like, it was the first one to really press the idea of aggression and of semi-bluffing and, like the semi-bluff raise, and I'm trying to think of other things in the book, but you get what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, for books specifically, I will, you know, like, open up to a certain section of the book, think about it more, reflect on it more, and then that will, you know, allow me to just ingest the idea better and hopefully execute it better or some type of variant of it at the, you know, the poker room when I can.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about risk. We've talked about risk management. I mean, obviously, we just talked about you reading. I know you do quite a bit of risk analysis, and I'm curious what that means as far as poker.
Okay. So to describe risk analysis in poker is basically just, I'll have to talk about how you make money in poker and what the different risks specifically of, like what I'm looking for at the table for what can, you know, cost me money or make me money and whatnot. You make money in poker by getting your opponent to fold a better hand when you have a worse hand. That's also called a bluff, as people know. You make money in poker when you can get someone to call a worse hand when you have a better hand. That is called a value bet. And you also make money in poker when you are calling, or what we call defending, at proper frequencies. And what I mean by that is, I didn't have any boost. I can get back there.
No,
what I mean by proper frequencies is, you know, okay, you're facing a big river bet, right? Maybe it's an all-in river bet.
Okay.
You're quickly doing the math. You know, the pot odds say you have to break even like 33% of the time for, you know, this to be theoretically correct to break even. So, you know, in that spot, I'm thinking, would my opponent be more capable of of bluffing in this spot, or are they never bluffing in this spot, so I could fold with confidence versus, you know, like if I think they're over bluffing, then I could call in that spot and just over time make money from that spot because they're bluffing more often than they should be in that spot, if that makes sense. So the risk analysis is factoring in the math and psychology of those specific factors in the hand that's going on and in the table dynamic that's going on as well.
Okay. All right. Now, like I said, I'm going to bring this back to Rocket League a little bit. Do you feel like this stuff translates into Rocket League?
Oh, yeah. There's risk in everything. I mean, you know, I am by no means a expert. I'm a Platinum 1. But I definitely understand the risk of when you should go for a 50-50 or when you should challenge, because the risk and success failure of that may not be as bad as the alternative. Which in poker, it's the same thing as, you know, if you decide to raise in a spot. You know, yeah, like you could just be, you know, like your opponent could have it and you're just, you know, you're essentially just not committing suicide by raising, but you know, that option is more superior than calling. Because raising will at least, you know, maybe you can make your opponent fold if they actually don't have that strong of a hand.
Okay.
So like, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, at least to me, but I've heard you talk about poker for a while. Great shot, dude.
Thank you.
So, bringing it to Rocket League, you know, do you feel like understanding risks, risk management, and analysis, does that make you a more aggressive player, a more passive player? Or does that like put you in your own head more? Any of those options?
No, it doesn't put me in my head anymore. I guess it just helps me understand what makes a good Rocket League player. And, you know, I've only put 200 oh shit. I've only put 230 hours into the game. Like I'm by no means like an expert, but I think the risk analysis gives me a perspective into what makes a good player. You know, when me and you went to RLCS, when it was in New Jersey, you know, I picked Renault and to win. I picked Renault to win just based on everything that I saw and everything that I understood from Rocket League. And I was like, okay, these guys, you know, they're very consistent, accurate in their shots. And, you know, K-Dop is very consistent, accurate in everything he does. And, you know, Scrub is an amazing defender, and Fairy Peak is just an amazingly solid player. And those factors, as opposed to other things, like in poker, you could tell good players really quick by their decisions and the things that they do, and maybe the non-flashy things. And I think that, you know, for Renault, they do a lot of non-flashy things, but they do a lot of successful things. So,
Okay.
you know, with that understanding, it does. I may not be making my comparisons that accurate either. If I played a lot more, I'd be able to explain it in a lot more detail, but I feel like there is.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man, 3 matches up. You answered a ton of my questions. And, dude, there's a really good chance that if people are interested in this, we might do another one and talk about it some more. But
Okay.
to sign off, let me ask you this. Would you recommend other people to go into poker if they were interested? Like, would you honestly be like, hey, this is something that you could do?
I recommend people do whatever it is that they want to get themselves into. I mean, you do Rocket League, and I think that when you get into something very in-depth, you not only build the skill set for whatever it is that you're doing, but you learn a lot of other things. Like, you know, for poker, it helps me in my risk analysis in like fantasy sports, or if I want to go into investing, or if I want to go into any type of other risk fields. You know, for Rocket League, you do a lot of video editing. You do, you know, a lot of communication. You organize a lot of things. There's so many external skills that you learn just by doing things that you enjoy, hobbies and jobs that you enjoy. So if you're interested in risk analysis and you want to play a game version of that, absolutely play poker. You know, have fun with it. You don't have to be a professional and put, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. Just, you know, go play small stakes and, you know, teach yourself, you know, the game a little bit and go and just have fun in it. But whatever else you want to do, go and have fun with that. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it and learn. That's all that matters.
I'll relate it to quite often in the Rocket League decision making that I do. Often one of my takeaways every 3 or 4 episodes is something along the lines of do what you love. And I think that's exactly what you're doing. So, the tank with no numbers, thank you very much for stopping by, dude. Thanks for chatting. This was way too much fun. And if anyone has any questions, drop them down below. I will talk to Frank here, or maybe he'll comment or answer them himself. And, yeah, I mean, hey, some Rocket Life advice. Here we go. First thing I want to say, if you're considering poker, you know, go about it, follow your dreams, do whatever you want to do, but be careful. The reason I wanted to talk about this with Frank is because he has put a ton of time into this before he made it his full-time career. Just saying. Down below, there will be the Gamblers Anonymous, Gambling Anonymous, whatever, a hotline just in case things get out of control. And if you're interested in hearing him talk about this more, maybe more about poker itself and how he plays and the game, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take it serious. Follow your dreams. See you soon.